Right.
Yeah. We've been doing about 3 1/4 lately.
Wow, that's a lot.
All right, I think we're going to have a big audience. All right, I'm finally ready. One last button. Hey, everybody, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
Doing terrific, Todd. It's great to be back on the New Media Show. So, this is an exciting episode. We've got Mr. Adam Curry in the house. So, yeah.
And Adam, you're in the shadows, but welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm good, Todd. Hey, Rob, how you guys doing? Yeah, I don't like video. We don't do video with no agenda. It's just I've never really liked it. But when two titans of industry request your presence on a Wednesday afternoon, and thank you for bending your time a bit. Yeah, what am I going to say? It's like how long have we known each other? 18 years.
Been insane, but for
it's been a while.
I do have to. I was threatened already by one of the No Agenda team, and they basically said, if you don't say in the morning, but in the morning, Adam, how are you?
Yes, in the morning to you. That's highly appreciated.
There you go. Hey, sounds
for
familiar.
our Spanish viewers.
So yeah, it's been a while, and I think about, holy shit. You think about going back to the beginning of this thing, I was sitting in Waco, Texas. And what is it, 80 that runs through Waco, or 95? I can't remember what highway runs through Waco.
95.
Yeah, 95. And I was sitting in a Hampton Inn, and I had a broken back, and I was in a clamshell, and I was surfing the internet. Didn't know you for nothing. Didn't know Dave Weiner for nothing, to be honest with you. I don't know how. I don't even remember how I found you guys. And man, oh man, like listen to that first episode of Daily Source Code. If that's what it was, I don't remember if that was the show in 2004. And it was just like stick a fish hook in my cheek, and I was done. I mean, like 15 minutes, I knew I was going to podcast. Yeah. So from
that's a lovely story. I feel so connected.
That's right. By the hook.
But it's yes. True though, and I think a lot of us, you are called the Podfather for a reason. For many of us, there was no, we would have not. I'd still been a shitty blogger. I was a bad blogger at the time, and I'm not that great of a podcaster either.
Well, let me throw it right back at you. And I think it was someone sent me a clip of Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. And I was being interviewed by someone, but Dan said, I learned the most by listening to Adam Curry and the Daily Source Code. But what that really meant back then is, and that was why it was called the Daily Source Code, I was talking about podcasting. That's all I talked about. And a lot of it was the technical aspect and how we'd make the podcatchers work and just what the consumer side of the equation was, but also the production side. So it was really me talking back to, to overuse the term, but it truly was a community of people who were just like interested in what this was and what we could do with it. And it was extremely diverse. So it really was, I just happened to be the focal point because I'd figured out, if there's anything I've figured out, it's how to build groups of people and kind of assemble. I guess I'm a community organizer in a way. Like me and Barack, we're community organizers. You go. So that's kind of, it turns out that's what I'm reasonably good at. Yeah. But it really was a true group of people, both of you gentlemen included, in these early years that were just figuring it out. Yeah. And it was quite uncomfortable, actually, because, as you know, there was always pressure. You have to do a keynote at the Podcast Expo. And I didn't really want to do that. I didn't really feel like it. It's like, I just want to be a part of it, and I just want to do shows and come up with good stuff. So I guess that all leads back to saying, yes, I was the focal point of it, but there was a lot of people that were involved.
Yeah, and then also what you did up on stage at Gnomedex, I thought was a pretty inspiring moment in the podcasting space. And a lot of people don't know about that. There's a lot of new people, Adam, involved in the podcasting space now that just don't really know the history of this. And I guess, one thing I'd love to talk with you about a little bit is your thoughts on the original culture of podcasting and why really it got started, and why do you think it was important for podcasting to actually emerge back in that time?
Well, from my own experience, what the way it happened for me was I had been actually the whole concept of the RSS enclosure had been figured out 3 years earlier, and that was something that I had gone to New York to explain to Dave Weiner. I said, look, I see this RSS, I see what you're doing, I understand the blogging, but why don't we fix this last yard problem we have where computers can now stay connected all the time? Remember, this is 2000. Computers can stay connected all the time. But the bandwidth is still, there's no experience. If you want to see a video, it's click and you wait and it takes a long time. So why don't we build something into what you're doing that kind of pre-caches that on someone's computer? So then when they click on it, of course, you don't know that it's there until the program says, there's something new. You click on the link or whatever it is, and then boom, it plays immediately because you're serving it locally from the hard drive. So you're shifting that waiting period to a moment that you don't know, because it doesn't matter if you didn't get it right away. Let it take 10 minutes, and then you get the alert. So that was the basic idea, and we were sending 100 megabyte movies back and forth through RSS feeds with enclosures, using his Radio Userland software. And again, we were using that for quite a while. And then I saw my first iPod and I went, oh, holy crap. This is a radio receiver. In fact, it looked very much like my first AM Sony transistor radio that I listened to basketball games under my pillow when I was 6 years old. And I said, well, this makes so much sense. And so then I set about putting, AppleScript together that would check for an RSS feed, just the single RSS feed is what I made, and then see if there was a new item, and then download the enclosure, and then download that into iTunes, then trigger the update, because the iPod was still tethered to your computer. That's how you synchronized it, and it triggered the update. And so then the next time you picked it up, which was typically in the morning, it would have new shows if they had been made available. And that's how it started. And I think that people just like that idea. I think the iPod was incredibly popular. People were flipping out over this thing, and we're arguing like, how can this be so good? My iRiver has been fine. I don't need this iPod schmipod thing. So there was a lot going on in MP3s. Yeah, exactly. I still have it too. A lot of this stuff. It was early days. Remember, we'd only just had Napster, and all kinds of things were happening. So I think it was exciting, and everyone likes to be talked about. That was my whole concept. So, hey, I'm making a show here. You can click here to listen to it, but it'd be cool if you use this, and it'll automatically subscribe you. And oh, by the way, a subscription doesn't cost money. How many years did we have to explain that?
Right. Yeah.
So, I think people were just incredibly ready for it. The media landscape was technology has saturated everything. Yet the content is kind of, all the same, kind of boring. So that's why people were delighted to hear other stuff. That's as far as I can see.
Adam, there was a saying that you had in your shows that I think, and I've used it in presentations. I'm trying to find one that I have it in there. And
there are no secrets. Only
it's the 8. It's. I'm sure you've got a clip on it. 18 million.
With $16 million worth of aircraft strapped to my ass.
Yeah, that's right.
And the next generation of radio content in my ears.
And
podcast to the future. It's podcasting Adam Curry. Yes, like that.
And I think that really what that did, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen. I've got the tech to do that. I think what that really summed up, and I think as I've presented this at presentations before, is it really was, in part, and if I go back and maybe I can steal some of your history, it really was that we had no gatekeepers, didn't have to ask permission. We could do this on our own. Fuck the man. Right. That was all part of the medium, because
and non-commercial too, right?
Yeah,
that's the other part of it.
And and you talk about you're flying into the future with this, next generation radio content in your ears, it summed it up exactly. So I've used this slide a lot.
And who do you use that slide on? Who are you presenting to?
I present to podcasters when I try to make them understand what we have here is very special. With the RSS and the open space and no controls and the open standard, and we can't be shut down. It's all those things podcasting is. Yeah, you can be kicked out of the off of Apple, you can be kicked off Spotify, but if you have a website and you have an RSS feed, no one can silence you. And I think in today's age, that probably is a big message that a lot of people don't understand that should, and where podcasting could come in and give people a voice when they don't think they have a voice. And it's all of that. It's all of what podcasting is today and what it was. And the origins, in my opinion, were that what we had was not revolutionary, was evolutionary.
Well, that's an important point, is the open nature of the format, which is obviously as much, if not more, attributable to Dave Weiner for always keeping RSS open in general. I agree with you. People have no idea what that really means or how powerful that really is. If they did, then people would be building alternative Facebooks. And of course, they are there. But it's things have to get worse before people start to figure stuff out and it gets better. But I agree, that is one of the core fundamentals of of the whole idea, the whole system, how everyone came together, is because no one owned it.
That's right.
We all owned it. We all made it better. No one was going to benefit necessarily. Although there was a lot of grief when I started a podcast network with venture capital money. A lot of people felt that they got gypped. Well, long story. It didn't work out all that well.
Right.
It was very, very tiring 10 years, very tiring experience. But I learned an incredible amount. And because of that, discovered that really even making money can be done in this way with podcasting. So I'm incredibly blessed with how my life has, the turns that my life has made in my career. It's an unbelievable position to be in, where I'm supported entirely by the rest of the people who help produce the show, and they know they're producing the show and they take responsibility for it. And to keep it the best podcast in the universe, they have to actively participate, and people get out of it what they put into it. That's how we came up with Value for Value. It's been the most rewarding part of my professional life, my creative life, and probably my happiness life. It's kept me incredibly happy and sane as well.
And for those of you that haven't listened to Adam's show, you go over to No Agenda Show, noagendashow.com, and there's a variety of support sites that go along with it. But
my goodness,
yeah, thousands. I think almost, but maybe not that many, but probably close. But if you don't understand the Value for Value model, you need to spend a week listening to Adam's show and figure out what they have built over there and what's possible. And I'm serious. No one. I listen to 100 podcasts every 2 weeks. No one unequivocally does Value for Value audience support model better than Adam and John C. DeVore. No one does it better.
Well, it also took us quite a long time.
Right, long time.
Where it is, and it took a lot of investment and risk, quite honestly. Just because you have to do it all in, or it doesn't work. And that's more because of just the conflict for myself. It's hard for me to do anything that is, quote unquote mainstream, or M5M as we would say, because I know it's just crap. And I know I'm going to be disappointed, and I just, it's like, I don't want to do it. And so, I mean, it has made me patently unhireable any other way. But I know that there is a complete global network of people who will support the work. And as it turns out, I've started, a new series called MoFax with Adam Curry, and under the same premise of Value for Value. It's a different type of show, but people value it very much, and they're really supporting it. And again, the feedback that people give us and how that supports actual content of the show. Yeah, you build on something, people take ownership, take pride, and and that sticks. It's fucking awesome, really, and it's nothing I've ever witnessed. I've done a lot of different media stuff. I mean, really quite a bit, including some bad acting.
So what's the core pieces of that model that you think make it work so well? I mean, can other podcasters model this and maybe build something bigger than what they have right now that can actually support themselves?
Yes, of course. And I'll give you the core premise. We've built it out quite a bit, but the core premise is this takes work. There's effort that goes in here. You listen to this or you watch this, whatever it was, for an hour or 2 hours. What was that worth to you? You spend 2 hours for different ways on entertainment. You may go to a movie that could be $50 with a drink and a date. So, but this may also just be worth $5, and that's up to you because I don't know what your value system is. I don't know. So whatever you thought it was worth, and it turns out if you leave that open-ended like that, lots of people will send you $5. A surprising amount of people will send you 500, and some will send you 5,000. And why? Yeah. Because they value it differently. Their life is different. Their values, literally their value of time versus money, whatever it is. And then the surprising thing is that people take creative license and start to use numerology in their donation numbers. This is crazy.
It is.
And so there's stuff that goes along with it, and that has just grown. I mean, so that's, I think, kind of where John and I know how to. We're the perfect combination, really, for that, for building kind of a. I call it a tribe. I think we're right now in a state of tribal media, where you have these tribes, and the tribes have their groups, their media properties. There's overlap. There's peace between tribes. Some tribes have issues, but these tribes they're self-sustaining, and whether that's through advertising and advertisers that really are dedicated to it. But I think. Even if you look at a case like Joe Rogan Experience, someone's got to be buying the shit that he's talking about. So someone's got to be getting the Cash App and all that stuff, because otherwise no one would be advertising with him. So his tribe is supporting him in that manner, and everyone finds their own way. For an author, it doesn't have to be monetary. Even most of the support we get is cost savings. We pay almost nothing for our hosting and bandwidth, and we push a crap load of bandwidth. It's through a very, Void Zero has been with us for over a decade, and he set up an incredibly sophisticated content delivery network. We're not dependent upon any big company necessarily, and that's just, that's a blessing. And so our actual costs are quite low on a monthly basis. Artwork, jingles, clips, but people who have experience and expertise in all kinds of areas, all of that comes to us. So we don't pay producers to do that work. We do it ourselves with our producers, our literal producers. And part of that is people who don't necessarily contribute in a way like that, so they send money. And it works. The balance is there.
Crowdsourcing. Yeah, it's crowdsourcing is part of what you're doing.
But it's more. I mean. But Rob, it's much more than crowdsourcing.
I realize that.
I don't like the word tribe.
Passion based. It's passion based.
That's tribe is one of those words that I hear that I kind of like gag on. But Adam's built an incredible group of producers. I mean, but Adam, a lot of podcasters are going to be listening to this first time, and they don't know how many hours show prep do you do?
I mean, in general, my show prep is almost all the time. So I've set up a number of systems, and I'm just always watching, listening, surfing, reading emails. And so it's gotten to the point where the only way I could do more is to go back and really relearn command line, Linux, tmux, but really command line type stuff to be able to process email and notes and incoming information and clips properly by customizing my own desktop systems so that I can just process the information. Because I was just just waiting for a GUI. Literally, it was just taking me too long. It's like, save this file, take it away, and I've got super amount of shortcuts. My hands barely leave the keyboard. So every morning I'm doing at least two hours of processing the overnight email, and then it's just I have an aggregator that I think is probably 4,000 feeds, but there's some sorting on that. So there's all these different things. Then we have noagendasocial.com, which is our Mastodon federated social network instance. That's real high signal versus Twitter, where the noise, of course, is much higher, but that's incredibly high signal. There's a lot of good things coming through there, not just from our own group, but also from people I follow from within the Mastodon Federation. And then I do have Twitter, but I use that kind of as an inbox. So I always say, look, if it was just a link, just tag me on Twitter. If you have something to say, send me an email. So it's pretty much all the time, except, like maybe like Monday, maybe I'll start my email a little later. Take some time off.
Between you and John, though, you guys on a single show may play what, 30, 40 clip, 50?
40 to 50.
40. So
we do that too. We prep those too.
So just understand that he's got 40 to 50 news information clips. It usually comes from the mainstream media. He listens to it, so you don't have to. So it's
C-SPAN.
Yeah. You listen to all that stuff, you need a shrink, man. I couldn't listen to it. I'd be hanging from a rope.
Well, I'll tell you the secret. It's very easy. It's a combination of flour and edibles. I get through the day just fine. It doesn't affect me too much.
Well, that's good.
My wife Tina is a phenomenal friend. She's my best friend, and we can discuss these things. And so it's not like in a vortex in my mind, or hers for that matter. We enjoy looking at looking at everything that's crazy from wherever it's coming from. So, and I'm very lucky. I have a great friend here at home who is my wife's my best friend.
So continuous prep, 2 main shows a week plus an additional show that you're doing now. So lots of prep, lots of work. So people understand. You want to do this, you got to put on the time. This is not, you're going to have to get home from work and you're going to have to prep, be ready.
As Malcolm Gladwell would say, 10,000 hours makes you an expert in everything. And, as I sometimes find myself I'm helping my stepdaughter. She's getting a podcast together. She's actually on the Blueberry platform.
Yeah, I heard
she hasn't
that.
posted yet, but she's getting ready. And I realized that I've been doing this shit for 40 years, man. I don't know how many 10,000 hours I have, but it makes you an expert. And so it's like second nature. I can do this in my sleep. The hardest part is, how do I build a 3-hour story without even knowing what my co-host is bringing? Because I don't know what he's done. I don't know what he's following. It's always a surprise.
Sounds familiar.
It's surprising how often it fits together beautifully. But so I'm like, what do people care about? I mean, the notes we get right now is, without you guys, and I'm saying this because it really affects me that people say this. Without your show, I would have gone crazy during the lockdown. That's very meaningful to hear. That I'm 55. What am I going to leave behind? If I leave behind thousands of people who said, that guy, that was good. He was good back in the day. Perfect. And then they could put up a statue, and then some dipshit kids can pull that down in 50 years.
And I think you have a lot of listeners that you have no idea. Listen, my mom is 78.
The range is incredible.
I walk in the house and she's listening to your show, and she's busting me because she's like, "Did you hear what Adam said yesterday?" And I'm like, "I'm 5 shows behind, Mom. I'll listen."
Man, there's no way to keep up. It's impossible. Don't even try it. No way. I tell people, why do you try and do that? It's not possible. But I don't remember what we did 2 shows ago. I mean, 2 years ago I can recall, but I don't remember what we did. I got to look it up. Which we have search engines for now. We have like 5 different search engines that have indexed everything.
So I'm sure there's a lot of, and I know, Rob, I'm hogging the mic, so just tell me to be quiet when you want me to. But, we've seen tremendous change in this space. And do sometimes, what do you think about what's happening today? Let's just look at today, not 3 years ago, because the space has changed incredibly just in 3 years. What do And I don't know how much you look out in space and see what's going on. And I know you've got your stuff going on, but what do you think about what's happening today in podcasting?
Just one maybe random thing I've identified recently, which is interesting to me because it's something that we rarely have really looked at or understand the mechanisms of how it works. I did an appearance on March 8th, I think, on the Joe Rogan show.
Yep.
And we went into lockdown pretty soon after that. And I know that our listenership would certainly have increased somewhat during that time, but the amount of increase, and I have no idea, honestly, we don't have any stats running. I don't know what our downloads are. We kind of look at, how many terabytes a second did we push when the RSS hit? It's like, oh, that's pretty big. Oh yeah, that's a lot of traffic. But we really have no idea. I mean, I can guess, but I don't know. It doesn't matter because all we need to do is pay our rent. We don't need to have any meetings with advertisers or agencies. So that increase was incredible. What was remarkable is how many people crossed over, were very vocal about it, were supporting the show, donating, saying, hey, I saw you on JRE and, I caught 5 shows now and I think this is great. I want to support. So there's a couple things that we learned. One is that part of the reason that transition was so easy for them, and they're not leaving Joe Rogan, but the 5 shows Joe does a week, maybe there's one that you're a little less interested in, but it's still 3 hours. Oh, I can fill it up with this 3 hours. This is very interesting. I've personally never thought of it this way, that's how people can bop back and forth. So we fit into a very interesting time slot, which I think is actually less competitive than short shows, which has always kind of been the, what's the sweet spot? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 57.
Right.
And I've never really, I never had an answer for it, but now I know the sweet spot is what other show on a regular basis, again, it comes back to why would you try to listen to every No Agenda? I mean, it's sometimes life just gets in the way. You just can't find that 3.5 hours and they stack up and it's 7 and then it's 10. You got to make decisions. So I think that's why I know you don't like the tribe term,
right.
And I can understand why it's a term that carries weight with it. But in the true sense of the word, it's either that or cult, and I don't like cult.
I don't like that one either, right? Yeah.
Or religious group. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same mechanisms are there. But we don't have. Well, we do have secret handshakes and crazy shit like that. I mean, but anyone can learn. There's no barrier to entry. There's no initiation period. Although, in a way, that's been created by the producers themselves with douchebagging and de-douching and all this stuff. So that's something that I found fascinating, and I wonder if people who have podcast networks realize or have done any work on this mechanism and how that crosses over, and how I feel it benefits both of us. It's I just see only growth for all.
Right. So
and
yeah, I wanted to.
My feeling in general about advertising based podcast networks is not very positive because not everybody wins.
That's right.
And
it's
not everybody wins, and it's a painful experience, and it's not. It's basically, it just brings in the Hollywood elements that I wanted to leave in the first place.
And if you didn't listen to the last episode, Rob and I talked very deeply about that whole situation that's going on now. But that's a topic for another day. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to dive into an area that's really doesn't get talked about a lot, and you're definitely an example of it with the show that you do, is the ability for you and John to connect with the audience, right? And to have that type of conversation, and they feel involved in the show. And so how do you think about the content that you present to your listeners in a way that makes that connection compelling and something that they want to get deeper into with you? Is it the entertainment value? Is it the conflict? What is kind of the formula, or is it just so organic between you and John that it just happens magically? And I know Todd and I have been doing this show together for a very long time, and there is a magic chemistry that just happens between co-hosts if it's right. But if you can talk a little bit about that also, that'd be great.
Dvorak and I are basically old school radio guys at heart.
Right.
So that's why we don't do video. It's theater of the mind. Even especially with John, it's like Spike Jones, with whistles and bells and sound and drums, and God knows what he's got in that archive of his, which of course is easily translated to jingles and very old. I mean, it's all very, very old school stuff, So, and we have like the signature jingles in the morning. That stuff that is old radio tricks that that connects with an audience because people sing that. The people in the car, their kids are singing the jingle. Our donation. We have the dumbest webpage for donations. You literally have to go to Dvorak.org/NA. I don't know if anyone in the world can spell Dvorak. Then it's .org and it's /NA. But what we do is Dvorak.org/NA, and everyone can remember it. And just because you can repeat it over and over in your mind, and it sticks in your head. Eventually, you'll figure it out. And okay, now I remember how to get there. So, that's the basic experience of being radio guys or understanding interaction with an audience. The rest, without sounding arrogant, is talent. My talent is picking the hits. Whether it's a song, the top 40, I was pretty good at picking hits for the top 40. I was pretty good at picking people for employment. And it turns out I'm pretty good at picking stories that people will be interested in, or often will be very interesting within the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm a little bit ahead of the game. That's my talent that I've honed subconsciously throughout my entire life. I can pick hits. I can't make them. I can't make a record. I can't, none of that stuff, but I can pick them. And so I know what's going to be interesting, what has legs. I understand the mechanisms of media in most of its aspects. The aspects I don't know, John knows an incredible amount about, in particular print news and from and government, how government works, and he's an historian, and he's I'm much more of an optimist, and he's somewhat more pessimistic, and so that mix has been good. But it started as a conversation. We're talking like this once a week anyway. When I was still living in London. On Skype, we talk about 45 minutes, and I'd be reading to him what was happening. There was the Lisbon Treaty was being put together at that time. I was telling him what a joke it was, and he was telling me what was happening in San Francisco, mainly complaining about the parking meters that are 25 minutes for 25 cents for 5 minutes or whatever. Then when we'd meet up, we'd have a great meal, which would be at then Pod Show's expense. So we'd then report on this crazy wine and shit we had and this great meal, which was all part of the programming budget. But again, that just started kind of just us hanging out, and then we said, well, why don't we record it?
You
make it a podcast.
You guys remind me of like fishing buddies and an old married couple, because it's like you're best of friends, and then sometimes you're fighting with one another and cussing at one another, and then you're praising each other. It's really this really incredible dynamic. Rob and I think, we don't bust on each other too much, but you guys make it a regular habit to have fun picking on each other, and I think that's an important part of the dynamic of the show too.
Well, we also annoy each other regularly. That's abundantly clear. But part of the success, we believe, which was done purposely, is we don't talk outside of the show. We talk on the show, because anything we talk about outside of the show, we'll probably forget to talk about it on the show. That's just so like I don't like pre-interviews for the same reason. So we just don't talk about it on the show. So I don't even want to know what you're clipping, whatever. Have we ever doubled? Yeah, sometimes, but usually it's more interesting than that. Where I took a clip about it, or made a clip about a topic, and he had a clip about a topic from a different angle, different media source, and then it really comes together nicely. So there's balance there, but we're not really friends. We've seen each other at events, and then we're like the awkward.
You guys are opposites of each other in a lot of ways, right?
No, we hey, man, how you doing? And we have nothing to say. And like, I don't know, I got nothing to say to him. Nothing. We can't communicate very well in person. It's very bizarre. It's like you're like, hey, you should do the show in person on stage. No, it would suck. I don't want to see him. He doesn't want to see me for the same reason. No.
So so did you say conflict and disagreement is a key component of the program?
No, just honesty, and we don't hold on to shit. We do not hold on to shit. I mean, we've had blow up arguments, and I've actually worked on myself. I have been in therapy, not just for the show, but it certainly helped for the show. And so I don't get as mad as I used to. In fact, I don't get much mad at all. But, I can get a little pissy and bitchy. And but then when we're done with the show, it's like, all right, well, talk to you on Thursday. It's like we don't hold on to it, and it's gone. And it's gone, and there's no reach backs. Well, you were a dick 3 shows ago. No, it's every show we start again. It's all new. But which means either of us could be in a foul mood. Who knows? I mean, anything's possible. You don't know. And wow, is that exciting? I love going to work. I love going to work. It is, and I get up 5:30 on show days, go through the email, get ready. I start to piece it all together, and I just love. We have our troll room, which has between 1,500 and 2,000 trolls in it.
So that's the beauty of
chat room, but they're all trolls.
It's the beauty of this thing is because he calls the audience members in chat trolls. They are.
They know.
The rest, if I did that on my show, I'd be crucified. And you guys just have fun with it, and they love being called trolls.
But they also troll pretty hard. It's like, wow, really mean stuff. But once in a while I'll kick someone out. Just I have a second, just like I'm just gonna kick you out, troll. Too much applause usually, but our ban is like 5 minutes. I don't know. People come back. But we decided you can't have it moderated up the wazoo. It becomes unfun,
right?
It's and if someone gets kicked out, it's like you get kicked out of the pool and come back in a few minutes. We've had spam stuff that we've had to deal with, but again, this is all community run. Our stream, we have noagendastream.com 24/7 podcasts, all running under the same value model. Some of them live, some of them just scheduled. And so people hang out in the troll room and listen to the show at the same time. It's kind of a community aspect. And then they troll the host or whatever, it's have a good time.
So what would you say is your percentage negative feedback versus positive feedback? Just curious.
I can almost
negative to positive.
Or is any feedback what you want? It doesn't matter.
I would say that most of the feedback is positive and or very constructive. There's always someone saying, bah, especially on Twitter, and I always say, how many followers you got? No, I'm not even dealing with you. I don't want to block them, just blow up and dry away. I don't mute. What hurts is when people who are producers who support the show or consider themselves producers email me and say, I can't believe you missed that. You didn't do this. Blah, I expected so much more. And I'm like, and I used to get really upset. And now I say, hey, man, that's not how a producer talks to the talent when we're trying to make the best show. And you'd be amazed how well that works. It's like, oh, shit, man, I'm sorry. Yeah. Said, where were you making sure I had the link? Where was the campaign to make sure I saw it? Where was the triple emails? That's your job.
So one thing. Sorry, Adam. One thing I there's a dynamic here that I want to talk about because we're living in this crazy knucklehead world where everyone is like, it's split. Right. I mean, it's bad split. And for those of you that haven't listened to Adam's show, they are. When I do a tech show, I'm an equal opportunity basher between Windows and Apple. I'm an equal opportunity basher, and Adam and John are equal opportunity bashers. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, down the middle. If you're doing something stupid or trying to hide something, they're going to call it out. Have you guys how has the current political thing affected the show?
Oh, very much so, in fact. Now, early on, I think when Trump was just come down the escalator, I said on the show, "Oh, he's going to be president. I can see it. He can do this. He can go all the way." And Dvorak, laughed. Of course, this is one of our often played clips. I mean, I've predicted some weird stuff in the past. I predicted the Pope by name before the whole vote and the smoke came out, and so then that's just some deduction. And I have my other reasons why I thought he might be the guy. But I know that's baffled some people. But Trump, I just saw it again. It's my talent. I picked the hits. I saw it. I'm like, don't underestimate the American public. They're an interesting bunch. It's like we're an entertainment country, so we understand things and we fall for certain things, and we really like some things, which sometimes are brutal. I mean, look at what the movies and TV shows we watch and worldwide wrestling. I mean, come on, we are kind of a rowdy bunch in a way. We're Australians with a real dollar, basically. and I love our Australians. They know I'm just messing with them. We give them full credit for their dollarettes. So it doesn't matter. You send us 100 of your Aussie dollars, we'll count them as $100. It's fine. So when Trump started to gain momentum, and we've pretty much criticized whatever the mainstream media is doing. We wind up doing the opposite because it's more fun. I mean, everybody can do the same as Mika and Joe or whatever. Everybody can bang on the president all day. It's not hard. It's more fun to find out why they're doing it and what are they missing and what are the things that might actually matter and why are they doing some idiotic things. We are in principle a media deconstruction show. That's what we do, right? Because we come from the world. We know how it works. We've been just as stupid and mainstream evil and prostitutes for whatever it was. So we escaped with our hides, and here we are. And so we break that down. So when the media was just loving President Obama, it was pretty fun to cover the other side of that. And now that would often be seen as a Republican Democrat slant, but it's that's the life. But you kind of look at all sides of it, and Obama was also pretty funny. He had some fun. We loved how he did his speeches, and so when they messed up, when he wasn't perfect, boom, that was fun. So now you have, in a way, a little bit of a swap. And Trump is so insane that at a certain point. Now, by the way, we were calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas for years before Trump did it, and so that was the first problem. Like, so what you guys have been saying Pocahontas, now Trump is saying it. Well, now we can't say it anymore because I don't want to sound like I'm some Trump wannabe. And he won. And I think because a lot of people were very angry by that, and we were covering him more. Remember, he was when we were covering him in the beginning. He was the stories about him. Huffington Post would only put in the entertainment section. I mean, this was a fun story to follow for us. This is great. Look what's happening. And oh my God, he's winning. Nah. And everyone predicted Hillary would win. So, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. We can go any way we want. And we always try to go for pretty much the lowest common joke. The more lowbrow the joke, the better. That's always our standard. But everything was there, and Trump was the joke, and that was really fantastic to follow the other side, how people were flipping out about it. And I think we lost. Now I know we lost a lot of people because it's kind of the same with coronavirus, although obviously it's serious, and we discussed the serious side of it. My daughter's grandmother, hasn't seen daylight in 9 months. Had her 94th birthday in a kind of indoor Pope mobile without wheels, waving to everybody from the other side of the glass. So there's hurt and bullshit and heartache everywhere. But you got to kind of bring it down to this is what we do. It's like, well, all right, you got to laugh at it. You got to laugh. That's all you got left. So, and maybe comedy is, or I don't think we're comics, but I think it's healing. It is for me, for sure. So you can talk about anything as long as you can also laugh about it a little bit. And I think that's been very good. But there was a big change. People didn't really understand what felt like we had chosen a side,
right?
And that says as much about them as it does about us, I guess.
That's why.
So,
That's why I
But a
tell
lot of people have come back too. So people have come back, and they'll say, "Hey, I was man overboard for 2 years or whatever," but I come back and I got to say, I'm liking what I hear. So I get that too.
So I tell people you got to listen to at least 3 shows, because if you bail out in the first hour, you're not getting it. You got to listen to at least 3 shows.
Yeah.
So anybody that's so at least that's what I say about people that.
Well, for most people, it's like if they're not there, either they're like, oh, I'll give it another try, and then it kind of catches. But I don't know. It's hard, getting in, because you're stepping onto a freight train. It's like this thing's moving. It's like, and there's what are they talking about? And what's this in the morning? What is that bell? Why do they do that? All just stuff that. Why are you a douchebag? What is going on? Why do you call politicians different names? So we have all these weird things that have stuck, but people kind of get on board and roll with it. And that's real. Maybe that's another thing as you're talking about podcasting in general. The generosity of the new people who were exposed to us thanks to the Joe Rogan experience, I believe, are very happy to support us because they've never been asked to do anything.
That's interesting.
If that makes any sense. They've enjoyed great content. They have been asked, of course. They've been, there's the products and services that advertise on the show, and I'm sure that they purchase, as I said earlier, I'm sure that they're using those services and products. Otherwise, the circle wouldn't connect. And that's been something that's been very successful. But they've never been asked, I don't think, to put a value on what they're getting. And I like the comparison. It's kind of interesting.
So do you consider your show to be a cause that somebody should contribute to?
Oh, I would almost say no. I want to answer for Adam. It's not a cause.
Well, no. But I was trying to be thoughtful about the answer.
Right.
We just want to have our bills paid. I mean, that's all we've ever said. It's we just want the bills to be paid. That's all.
Right.
And does that mean that if there's a meetup and we go to the meetup, that's also paying for my airfare, but also for my wife. I mean, but that's part of the package. You'll see her at the meetup too. And, it all kind of connects. No one what's interesting is no one has any issue. And I should probably make clear for people who have never heard the show. We read we thank everyone, read their little note and how much money they gave us. You can count it if you want to know how we're doing. And it's up and it's down, it's left and it's right. And, it varies, and that roller coaster has become life. But we're happy and we're proud, and we're super proud and we have different levels. So that's become a kind of a fun thing by itself, a hierarchy. And there are people who have been supporting the show for years and $5 a week or a month, and then all of a sudden they've reached $1,000, and boom, they get a knight or a dame ring and sealing wax and a certificate and a mention on the show, and it's fun and it's kooky, but it's also the tangible thing which people like.
Rob, I stole a couple of things from their show, and I tell my audience, that if I'm behind, and I've got a sponsor, so I've got to, I got to make my numbers every month. I mean, my numbers is I have to get a certain number of new subscribers to go over to GoDaddy to, sign up for a service. And if they don't, then I don't get paid. So what I tell them is what I took from Adam's show is when they're short, they tell you, hey, we're running behind. We're running behind. And I tell my audience, I'm running behind. You guys need to step up. Share this code with your friends. Instead, Adam says, send us $50.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've adopted that from my show is I just ask and I tell them why. Do they always respond? No, but usually they put me over the edge.
Right. Well, then, and those listeners can feel like that they're a part of something, right? That they align with, or that they're getting no, BS type of conversation about issues that they think about a lot. I mean, is that part of how you think about it too, Adam?
Yeah, there's actually one other point I wanted to make. Now we're just talking about, now that Todd mentioned that, an important, a critical piece of our system, whatever you want to call it, is the newsletter, the email that goes out twice a week. known as
Right.
the newsletter.
Right.
John C. Dvorak does the newsletter. This is science. He is an expert. Don't try this at home. I have tagged along for a good 10 years watching him do it, and how he communicates to people exactly the level of what we need. So to your point, Todd, it's like if we're behind, not only will we say it, but there's a sad puppy image at the end of the newsletter, and everyone knows, oh crap, sad puppy, send money. And but we're truthful, and you can go back and measure it. You can say, okay, you can go back and see exactly if people are interested in that. But also, it's an art.
John's a journalist. I mean, that's his background. He's
a writer. He's a columnist. But when it comes to understanding email communication, and we have long talks about this. I mean, this has been the one thing that has been. I mean, it's an art, and it's his art, but we do talk about it often. My wife also is pretty into the email marketing arts, and her main expertise is fundraising for Ronald McDonald House charities. So you can imagine, how that's measured is not dissimilar to what we do. And it doesn't work. Right. We just say, hey, just give me money, or gee, we're a great organization. No one cares about that. What's interesting, by the way, is whenever the newsletter, we joke, contains actual content, like an essay, it doesn't really get us a lot of extra donations. And people find that also funny for some reason. Like, a nice essay. I'm not going to donate. But when we put it full of our fun bits and what we're thinking off the top of our heads, and a funny picture or two from the internet or whatever the meme of then Dvorak has he tracks that very well. That always gets people to come. It reminds them, hey, that's right, this show's tomorrow. Watch it. Let me think of it. Have I got enough value from the show? Maybe not. Maybe I'll send them something this week or not. No big deal.
And here's the thing, Rob. There's accountability to it too, because John doesn't cry wolf. If they've been doing good, they're doing good. There isn't the sad puppy in the newsletter.
No, that's absolutely true.
And if you listen to the 2 or 3 episodes before, and if donations are down and John drops a sad puppy newsletter, there's accountability because they're behind. They don't pander. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's accountability in that people say, oh, they don't ask unless they need it.
But also that whole process is content, because people are sending it. We read notes above certain levels, and that now contains content. Yeah. And we, and it's often endearing, but also informative. And when I look at the Apple stats thing in the Podcast Connect, I think everyone's. I don't know how this looks in Mirror or not, but everyone's stat kind of goes like that. The show starts, and this is how people are listening. And with us, it goes, and here's the donation segment, and it comes right back up. But it's not like that. It's just a little bit, people are fast forwarding whatever they're doing, and it comes back up. The majority kind of stick through it. And those who don't come back for it. But it's content, and often some of the best stuff is in there, as we've discovered. Surprising things. Certainly pronouncing names from all over the world. It's very complicated.
Let's shift gears a little bit. What do you think of Joe Rogan and his deal with Spotify?
I'm very, very pleased for Joe. I think he was in a precarious position previously, and I'm glad that he secured that for himself, for all of us, and for his family, because not what is it? Maybe 3 weeks after the deal is announced, the cancel world jumps into action and tries to, mess with him from a 10-year-old video, whatever. But that was a direct attack, and that kind of thing can really hurt if you're advertiser driven. And YouTube is completely unreliable as a partner, for a myriad of reasons. So I think that he did an incredibly smart thing. I know it's controversial regarding him being only available through Spotify, But again, and again, I'm going to use the tribe term. If his tribe is cool with that, they'll follow him and they'll support him. And I don't know how that, the piece that we talked about earlier, how you might supplant 1 3-hour show from this series with a 3-hour show from other series. I don't know how well that works if you separate literally the app that you use. Do I think Spotify will become some king of podcasting? No, I really don't see it. I mean, it just doesn't work. You cannot make everybody happy and people leave. And so maybe they can spend a little more money, a little longer. We held in there for 10 years and it just doesn't work. People who sell podcast networks on some vapid claim that it's going to work, they make a lot of money. That I didn't get. That I got screwed out of that one because, of course, I was too early, picking the hits too early. That's again, right. This time it did not benefit me. So, but that doesn't matter. It's having one show like a Rogan. Yeah, totally. Will that change their business? Well, they need to change their business one way or the other. Their main issue is every single piece of content someone consumes from them costs them money. They have to pay statutory license fee. So then they have to go make that money back. You're not a subscriber, we're going to give you an ad. So now they have to sell these ads, and that has to be all targeted, and so they buy ad networks, and so now they're in the advertising business. And by the way, the only part of the stream revenue that they have to pay to the rights holders is statutory. The other part is private deals done with the record labels, and in fact, with some record executives have stock and warrants directly. So it's an incredibly corrupt relationship, which behooves only the rights holders, but not equally across the rights holders.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I recently said that podcasters may be in a position to get screwed just like recording artists have. And I said, is it time? And I play devil's advocate here a little bit, maybe not completely devil's advocate, but is it time that these platforms start paying for podcast content?
Well, here's my feeling on it. We have never given a crap about what people do with our show. There are torrents and copies and FLAC versions, and especially in the early days, people in Australia had really expensive bandwidth. So we had all these different versions, and people would make those, and they're still maintained today. It's phenomenal how many old systems are still kind of running.
So you still use BitTorrent for your show too, right? Is that true?
Yeah. Someone does a BitTorrent for us, even with an RSS feed and IPFS and all kinds of crazy things. But where is it going with this? I kind of have a problem. It's the Stitcher example to me. It's not okay for Stitcher to take my show and transcode it with an ad at the beginning. That's theft. So, and I don't know if they're doing that anymore or currently. Now,
no, it's all passed through now. Yeah.
It's passed through. Good. So Spotify, same thing. I don't really mind if people can listen to our show through Spotify. I've never submitted it. I think it's there. So I don't know who submitted. That happens all the time. I don't give a crap. Whatever. So someone else submitted it, and somehow that gets through, and it's up there. Fine, as long as it's not someone else's name. But if that's going to be commercialized, then that'll have to stop. Then no, you can't have that. Absolutely not. Or pay me. Give me a Rogan licensing deal. Doesn't have to be much. Now, will I turn off my RSS feed? My show would fall apart. Our show would fall apart. Right. It's built on a whole different idea. You can't. If anything, that's our never-ending joke. What's our exit strategy from this damn show? Because we can never get out of it. We can never end it. We'll never sell it for anything. We can't have a big payoff and settle into the sunset. We have to keep making it until we fall down dead.
I had followed that conversation up last week with it. We'll probably be treated just like the music folks. So we'll get pennies. There's not going to be dollars. So, in the end, the big boys are.
I don't see it's not worth the risk,
Yeah.
Todd. I mean, what we've done now is much more sustainable.
Right.
I don't
For
have
you
to
guys,
worry
yeah.
about my guest being the wrong person.
Sure.
Do we lose some people during a show? Yeah. They let us know? Yeah. Do they yell and scream at us? Yeah. But it's 2, and maybe we gain 10 the next
That's
time.
right.
And and there's a balance. We have definitely turned over our audience once or twice throughout the 13 years that we've been doing it. Oh yeah. Yeah. But people do come back to churn.
So it goes really back to the essence of the space. You need to take care of you. You need to take care of your show. You need to take care of your audience. Your audience to take care of you. And if you have a sponsor, you got to take care of the sponsor to get paid, because you're not going to have much control of what Spotify or Pandora or any of these companies are going to do around your content. They're going to do what they're going to do. And if you wanted to have a deal with them, you're going to get thrown pennies anyway. So, we're between a rock and a hard place. We've given it away. And I'm not saying we should be paid like massive dollars, but the content is becoming more valuable and people see it. Everyone's getting into podcasting. So I was just out there playing devil's advocate a little bit.
It doesn't, Marco charges for Overcast.
Yep.
I don't want a piece of that. That's fucking Marco's business.
That's right.
And I like Marco because he listens to people and say, hey man, this isn't working for me. And he looks into it and he has his own personality, which I really appreciate. So I see, Spotify is no different to me from Marco, except Spotify is less impressive to me. So for me, it's like, all right, and don't fuck around. If Marco started putting ads in, I'd be like, hey man, no, I don't like that. Don't do that. So
he doesn't feel like that there's anything wrong with the space that needs to be changed or improved. I mean, I'm talking about Marco here. He thinks that the space is pretty much perfect just the way it is. I do kind of wonder, and I think Todd and I have talked about this on the show a lot, that the deal that Joe made with Spotify could signal a change in the medium, and I kind of wonder, just like we were talking about, the balance of content versus proprietary platforms. I think as you look at the model of what happened with YouTube and things like that, I think that there is some level of concern about these big platforms capturing more and more listeners, right? And then controlling that access to the content. And where's the balance, right?
There's a couple different things. Let's look at YouTube first. People built careers on YouTube and now are disappointed that YouTube changed their mind.
That's right.
So sorry, that's your problem. Spotify is trying to buy a position in a market which they can never purchase. How much podcast do you want, Spotify? There's always going to be more. We're just not going to care. All right, so maybe for whatever reason, people hate Spotify, don't want to listen to something. They'll find something else. It's not going. Spotify's problem is they need to find a different way to give their subscribers and I'm not sure exactly how important the advertising piece is to them. I just don't know. I mean, this is not a profitable company. This is a money-losing operation.
That's true.
Just so you know, they're not like throwing money off, and they have big payments coming up for the pre-74 tracks, and there's all kinds of stuff going on here. And these private deals can be increased whenever they want, so they need to keep people on the platform, no matter what, as long as they're not consuming music.
Right.
So
it's cost savings.
That is their Hail Mary before they are basically out of business, because they're not profitable. Because this business it's very hard when someone owns the stuff that you're reselling or renting to people, songs, and they say, and then at any time when they really feel appropriate, they can say, well, we're going to raise the rate. Well, no, you can't do that. Well, no Taylor Swift for you, bitch. That's how it goes down. It's hardcore. Right. And who's screwed? I mean, I think Spotify has done amazing things for music discovery, and it's fantastic. But I don't feel good about it. Really don't. I pay for my content. I don't have Kodi or any of these. I don't steal movies or television. I value content, and I look at a movie and be like, oh man, King of Staten Island, $19. I'm like, it's the two of us. We're sitting here on the couch. I've got HD, 4K, whatever. It's got it's great sound. We're going to sit here and just enjoy ourselves. And look at look how many people worked on that. $20. What a deal. I can't see it any other way. And
right.
And I hope that people start to, and they have to. It won't work otherwise. If people don't value content's going to go away. This is a bonanza. Netflix is also not profitable. This is a bonanza. It's being paid for with investor money. Amazon, arguably, they can do whatever they want because they make so much money on it. On the other side, they can spend it however they want, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not kid ourselves. This is not forever. No way. End rant.
So,
wait a minute. I have a jingle for that somewhere, I think. I'm very slow today. Let me see. Where is it? Oh, yeah.
Adam C. Curry's pet peeve of the day.
There you go.
And I think you've got about 5,000 of those jingles.
Right.
I have quite
so,
a bit.
Adam, let's talk about radio next.
Oh,
where do you see radio in the next few years? It feels like to me that the COVID kind of accelerated their problems a little bit. I don't know what's your thought?
Well, it's accelerated a lot of problems. Local advertising died. There was nothing to do. Probably in a city like Austin, local advertising 70% is event based. So if you got no events, and we missed South by Southwest, ACL Live, which is a 2-weekend event, just got postponed until next year. So that's disastrous, not just for people in that industry, but you get advertising. I mean, there are studios here, like beautiful studios that do post-production and advertising, and even the film industry. There's a lot of documentary makers around here, some pretty famous filmmakers as well. Those that may go out of business. Now, especially if we seriously go down into some kind of shutdown, which is looming, which everyone seems to be all jacked up about. If that happens, then that's almost like a terrorist strike, man. Where it's like you blow up the IED, and when the ambulance comes, you blow up another one. It's like that could be the death blow to so many businesses. So, radio, no exception. What are they going to do? I think it's over. No one can afford their NPR fees, probably. I don't even know what's going on there if you're talking about that kind of stuff.
You've got adult children, Adam. Are they listening to radio?
No, I don't think so. No.
Mine aren't.
They may listen to a podcast, like an NPR podcast or an NPR news update, maybe. But I think most of them will listen to the Daily, and that's how a lot of people will start their day. But no, I don't think radio. It's still big in. We have an urban station here, quote unquote urban, which means American descendants of slavery, our black brothers and sisters on the east side of Austin, which is a kick-ass station. It's public radio, and that's a community jam. I love listening to that station. You want to know what's going on in Austin? That's the one, and that's really fantastic. But that's limited. That can be replaced. Someone has to come up with someone will do it. They'll do it. It may not be a moneymaker, but someone will come up with something, and maybe it's just a live Facebook stream or something, but they'll capture that energy. It's just the energy is great. So that's what we're seeing on podcasts. And I don't know how local podcasts are going, but I can imagine they're doing pretty well. Local newscasts, television newscasts are very important, but they're doing shit from home now. They've become podcasters. There's no more money left. Yeah. They're just keeping the signal on the air.
Yeah, right. Rob's a big fan of community podcasts. I'm not so hip that they're going to do as well, but and they've been struggling for a while. I don't know. We ought to check in on that, Rob, and see how local is doing.
Well, I've always felt that local had a place if the audience got big enough to podcasting. If if radio truly starts to go away and it goes on demand, audio content online, which is clearly the trend line that's been going on, there, like you said, Adam, I think that there is a place for local podcasting, but it's still in the future, I think.
There's a Dutch community podcast called Café Weltschmerz. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a community studio, which is community supported. And it's kind of like the old community access on cable. So people schedule time in the studio. And it's phenomenal. And it's very successful because and the Netherlands is a very small country, 17 million people, high penetration of public, state financed, and to a degree state-run broadcast networks. A lot of commercial, but I mean, and it's very political. Everything's very political. So you can't really do much. There's no MSNBC, Fox News, mixture. It's all one side, and no one else can get in. And that's not even political. It's just whatever the government wants. And the government is kind of center-right, actually. Or that's what they claim to be. So, the community podcast is really kicking ass there.
In April, May, and probably even June, we've had close to 100,000 new podcasters come into the podcasting space every month. So we know.
Where is this space?
Okay, well.
How can I visit all these people in the space? Do I have to pass to the space, Todd?
So anyway, we've got
because I love you.
We got these new creators coming in, and we know a bunch of them are going to die in the vine immediately.
Creators in the space. Creators in space.
The space.
I'm sorry, I love you, man. I love
That's
you.
beautiful. I love it.
I gotta be on it.
So
the space is filling up with podcasters, Todd.
Creators, man.
Yeah. So Rob keeps asking this question. I think it'll solve itself over time, but with this mass influx, we got to build the audience. What's it going to take to, I don't know anybody hasn't heard of a podcast. If they have, they've been living like in some community that doesn't have internet or anything for 20 years. But what do we do? What do we do to grow the audience size?
Well, I think it depends, because there's so many different kinds of formats, etc.
Right.
So obviously, if you look at what Joe did out in L.A., and I think to agree, the old Pod Show initial crew, and going back before that, how we would, and we didn't really have all the mechanisms to be on each other's shows, but I think that does help when appropriate, although it can become incestuous pretty quickly. But also, I've found myself more frequently going to podcasts for clips over mainstream. And whereas that used to be for sheer entertainment value, as in, listen to this crazy shit, what you often find, and this was the first clue, is that the very same people who are reserved and appropriate in a mainstream news interview are very loose and very different on a podcast, in a podcast scenario.
Right.
So we're seeing that the interesting stuff is now happening in the mainstream podcast division, not in, and hey man, we need those guys too. And in fact, more than ever, they don't even realize how good it is, the stuff they're doing, because they're letting so much slip through the cracks. Like the truth always wants to come out. You're like, holy crap, they don't even know what they're saying. And it's information that doesn't get into the newspaper or doesn't get into the nightly news. Yeah. So, but not only that, but I'll grab a few quotes from Rogan's show, and we credit and we put links and everything, make sure everybody knows where we got it from. That's the whole point. That also helps. Now that's that's how I can help. I don't know how other people can help.
I think
that's how I can help.
We learned very early on that cross promotion and promoting clips and stuff was really valuable. Then for some reason, we all crawled into our shells and it was me, and not a lot of this, of what you've said here. So I think you're on
cooperation across the industry it's been a challenge. That actually is a great lead into my other question for you. What's your thoughts on the formation of the Podcast Academy?
Well,
or have you been following it all?
Of course, I followed some. Some things have gotten a little confusing for me as to like we've got Podcast Academy, Podcast Awards, we've got Podcaster Hall of Fame.
Right.
I kind of remember you guys involved in that, and so like to me, like you're what's going on.
Right.
So before you explain that to me, I feel that why shouldn't we have our own circle jerk? I love it. I love having an academy where we honor each other and we learn from each other, and it's a circle jerk. It's great. It's like the Producers Guild or like the Directors Guild.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. But let's not be phony about it.
Right.
It's a circle jerk, fun place to hang out, and you want to be recognized by your peers for something you've done or for some success you have. And it legitimizes stuff too. I mean, how we haven't won I don't know when the last time we won an award, but you better believe we're still the award-winning podcast. According to the Mueller report, we are award-winning.
And in fact, you are honored. You have the Adam McCurry podcast. No, the Adam McCurry's People's Choice Award category on the Podcast Awards.
Yes. I was very pleased. This was quite an honor. I was like, holy crap, that's kind of cool. That was very nice. Very nice. And that's, as I said, that and some statue, that some kids will pull down in 50 years. I'll be very happy.
Exactly. They're going to take you down.
Just a plaque. In the future, podcasting, like it'll have to be like somewhere like Cleveland, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It'll take 30 years before it's built because that's how it always goes. We took forever for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So somewhere we'll have a shack, and I want a plaque. That would be. I'd be so happy with that. A plaque.
Where would we put a Podcast Hall of Fame physically?
Oh,
good question. Right? I don't know.
Oh, you're going to start something here.
Wherever land is cheap. Is that kind of the podcast way? Like
that's some swampland out here, Adam. Yeah.
If we put that thing on Fifth Avenue somewhere in Manhattan, I'll come back from the dead and I'll burn it down. That would be so wrong. Can't do that. It's got to be cheap on the.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to afford the property taxes on it after 10 years. So yeah,
right. Yeah.
Oh, Rob, you just opened a can of worms.
I hope that answers the question. I mean, and if anything, here's an opportunity. We all just sat through a very weird award season, highly politicized, all kinds, and a bunch of douchebags, really. I mean, there's a lot of talent, and I'm very appreciative, but now we have no host, and we're all kind of watching the TV for, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Whereas the best comedians in the world are hugely successful because of their podcast. Why isn't our award show and our Academy induction ceremony? I used to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction dinner. It was lockdown, no media, $10,000 a person, and we all dressed up in tuxedos like idiots. It's Phil Spector in a fucking tuxedo. You look like an idiot. Yeah, it's all right, man. Hey, Howard Stern, man, you look like a tall idiot. So do you, Curry. And it was Rubber Chicken, but the jam. It was about the jam, and everybody had a good time. And of course, then they hoarded it out, and then it had to be live on TV, and MTV got it, and it ruined it. But it had a very, very good long run. Why don't we have some crazy shit? We can be the award show of all award shows. We have an opportunity. People would actually care. Careful, because iHeartRadio is trying to capture it with their award show. But again,
the first ever
politically correct, lame ass piece of shit show. Who gives a crap of their own talent? We've got Rogan, we've got Corolla, we've got oh my God, how many comedians do we have in podcasting could be a part of this? For a host or whatever, and spice it up. Let's not try to be like them. And then let's just say, it's a circle jerk. And it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be good. It'll be very inspiring for people.
Mhm.
And ban people from spending money on PR campaigns, ban money on, because that's what buys the real Academy Awards. It's all about checkbooks and all kinds of minutia. So
Well, I prefer personally, a blue ribbon panel, and it can be quite large, but it's known who's on it, what the credentials are. Everybody can see it, and they choose all the categories. And if you want, you do the people's choice. Okay, that's fine. But we get just one people's choice, and just do your categories and have appropriate people. It's an academy. We're the experts. I don't want too much democracy in this. Just let's get the real, like the Academy used to be. The Academy is now a political piece of crap. No one's going to make huge amount of. The creators in the space themselves may benefit if they win an award, but there's not going to be a whole network of stuff behind it. Those days are over. And we already do not necessarily have an entire industry that depends on the success of every single show. Sure, there's commercial ones, but as a whole, let's just make it fun. Like the Adult Video Awards used to be fun, and then they've ruined that too. And it could be good. I would show up if it was nuts. It would be if it was just fun and comedic and we need to do a dead segment. I'll do that one year. Like, oh, here's who passed away. Very sad. We'll play some sad music. Yeah, and we can get someone to come, and we got musicians who will come in and play music. Just think about the possibilities if we really did it. And
well,
it would take.
We're trying to pull together. Adam.
We have to figure out how to pay for it.
That's the key. That's been the key for the podcast wars for the past 15 years. How to pay for it. I think for the first year last year, we actually broke even, so it's the key is how to pay for it.
Right.
Well, typically that's where union dues come in now, don't they? And that, of course, is going to be the rub. Does anyone want to pay any kind of membership fee or dues? Everyone wants, if you want to be by sponsors, then it's going to be a sponsor party, and then we're just going to be as bad as the rest.
Yeah, they've opened it up this year. It's $50 until September. What, Rob?
You need to put on a kick-ass show, the one I just said.
Right. No, that's what I would love to put on, Adam. About. So it would be great to have you as a member of the Podcast Academy too. We'd love to get you involved somehow. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, as long as it's not too much work, as long as it's just hanging out with good parties and choosing the best people.
Right.
Think about the parties we used to have.
Seriously, how much money would you need to put on a kick-ass awards? And, we can't pay talent, but you got to pay for some transportation, some lodging.
Pay for some trophies.
What is it, $150,000, $200,000?
Probably 200. Probably 200.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll take, it's something to consider. People want a good party. You'd be surprised how many people would pony up.
Well, hopefully we can get this COVID thing under control and people will feel comfortable to come out again to an event like that, right?
No, I think this should be the coming out from COVID. Yeah. Besides, the podcast awards are just breaking the mold. Here we go.
Right.
Okay, you're not excited by that. No,
as I've said, Rona's not going away. As we well know, it's not going away.
Nothing's going away.
So I do have some questions from the troll room.
Oh, okay. All right.
Dave Jackson asks, he always jokes about writing a book. Is he writing a book?
I started writing I'll tell you what's going on. I started writing my book, and I wrote a bit and sent it to, I got an agent, or agent found me, and we got an offer, and I looked at, and this was in October, November last year. And I looked at what a contract is these days with non-disparaging clause and, appropriate behavior clause. I'm like, no, I don't even want to argue with you about it. I really don't want to argue. And so I've been kind of going back and forth. I was like, I can make this a podcast in a way that is kind of a hybrid of a book and a podcast. And then I saw the Beastie Boys documentary and I thought, oh man, that's what I want to do. I want to tell my stories on stage with video and eventually with dancers in a band or something. And so I've actually been talking to a few people about, something, but it's not just a musical laugh show, but there's a, as I look back, there's a reason to my existence. And I think it's interesting to see what I've discovered along the way. And I think we could have especially people who the target is obviously going to be 40 plus because of heavy MTV influences, but we shared something very big and important. Especially like there's little segments like the Headbangers Ball people, we shared something. And with that came, we grew up with the first luggable phones, and from fax machines to, an incredible revolution around us. And cable TV was a joke. It was like, it's not really TV. No one really advertises on it. And from there, through to podcasting and iPhones and where does this lead us? And what have we learned? And what mistakes have we made? And what power do we have that we're not taking advantage of? So sounds a little fuzzy, but just imagine that with dancing girls and perhaps a celebrity appearance by a band, and then a stories from my life supported by audiovisual. I just don't know if a book is that interesting. It just seems like a big pain in the ass, and it's a thing, but I don't know if I'm interested in just having that thing.
Sounds like a blast. I'll bring a bottle of Jack.
My target is Vegas. I want a residency in Vegas. That's the target. So if I can get my shit together, maybe I can go on my buddy Joe's show and promote it, and then maybe it'll work. Well, that's a girl can dream. In the meantime, I'm just doing podcasts here in the studio at the house.
Is that your exit strategy? Is the residency in Vegas?
No, there's no exit. We're doing it until we die. It's what I do.
That's what someone asked me the other day. When are you going to stop podcasting? And I said, when it quits being fun. That's when I'm going to quit. And so far it's fun.
Sure. I think I'll always do it, but if there was something that wasn't fun, then I'd stop doing it. But I've never had that just stop being fun. Oh no, not with this. No, not at all.
Yeah, I agree.
So in your wildest dreams, would you have ever imagined that this space is what it is from those days in September and October of 2004 when you guys were like figuring this shit out?
I had a moment a couple months ago when I said, if you had asked me in 2003, 2004, even earlier, I guess, when we came up with the basic concept, but let's say the 2004 iPod discovery, if you had told me that at some point in the future, I would be playing clips of the former vice president from his podcast on my podcast, that by itself would have kind of blown my mind. Now, by the same token, when I first started in the internet, and one of our first clients was Anheuser-Busch, I built Budweiser.com, Budlight.com, and when I met Grindr, that's August Bush the third, and he said, "You internet boys, whatever, I don't care what you do, but you're never going to put no internet shit on my bottles and cans."
Yeah.
And the first thing we did was do you know the story of the Born On date?
No,
we're not familiar with that.
So we were going to build this website, which is basically a lot of marketing, and also brewmasters quarters, learn how they make the beer, and the Clydesdales and the racing team. And so it was just a plethora of content that we were just putting together. So we would go in and learn stuff. We'd go to St. Louis, and it was just a great vibe. Everyone's fucking amazing people, but very buttoned down, monogrammed shirts and everything. And so we learned from the brewmaster that there was a barcode on the bottles and cans, and that barcode was just the barcode back in the day. He said, you can tell down to the quarter hour when this rolled off the assembly line. And we went, oh, cool. So we created a Born On date calculator. The name Born On came from us. So you could input your code. We didn't have scanners back then, but it had the digits under it. And then it would say, oh, your beer was born on blah, blah, blah at this time. That is now to this day, literally on every can and bottle of Budweiser, born on date. So, these are things that I can't believe happen.
It's just one of hundreds of stories.
Right.
This is one of my many stories. Yes. It's one of my many stories.
I've got lots of stories as a sailor, but I can't tell those stories because
God, it's okay. It's not gay when you're underway. Everybody understands.
We
know our Navy men. We are totally okay with
I was never underway. I was always a P3 guy. So, none of those shenanigans for me.
You got lucky.
So we are coming down to the 90-minute mark. We always seem to get there. And, Rob and I do this show the same way. We show up. We don't do pre-planning. We don't even have a plan on what we're going to talk about. So I think we've done pretty good today. Of course, Adam, you've helped us along here a long way today. Rob, any final questions for Adam?
No, I just am, it's been such a fun journey to be involved in the podcasting medium all these years. And Adam, and you started it out, and there was so much energy. I mean, I think the biggest memory that I have is your keynote that you did at GnomeDex in Seattle. And you played you basically did your podcast up on stage. I know, Todd, you were there, and it was just a magic moment in this medium.
Setup right. Too. It messed up in the beginning. I think I had to restart.
Yeah, right. You did. Yeah, I think you're cussing the computer out. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Oh my. How? Oh, that was that's been my parallel project. I always thought, man, if we can make a good podcast and it works in this way, and you get it on your little device. Right. We should be able to create them on the small machines we have. That's always been my push, and certainly it's now all available. You just put it together for whatever you need. But man, it was tough back in the day, especially trying to do it digital.
Yeah, and I know that you tried to come up with some hardware too a few times in the past as well. How did that work out for you?
Well, that didn't work out very well.
Yeah.
It was called Podcaster Pro, and I concepted it, designed it. It was 3 partners, and the engineering partner, he got the concept working, but he never got it to a prototype stage, and he basically lied to us, and we had marketing running, and we had a crowdsourcing campaign. And there's no way we can't get our prototype in. So we don't really have anything to sell yet, and we might as well just stop and refund everyone our money. And I was pretty sour because we'd worked on it for like a good 2 years, and I just got screwed. And so that was my own fault. I was a little too gullible, I guess, in a way. Interestingly, Rode came out with the Rodecaster Pro, which
close.
I mean, I feel they really came close enough that if I was like that, I could probably go after him for something. I don't feel like I don't give a crap. But I will say this, because this is perhaps the forum. I followed them very closely, and what they have put together is almost exactly what I would want. And with their latest update, they came within, just a millimeter of what I want. So hopefully someone who's watching or listening to this will hear me. And when I say, please add a noise gate to your other channels, so that someone using Clean Feed or Skype through USB or even the TRSS connection could also be gated, I would be this device's biggest advocate. But I'm not bitter, because my version, it had hardware is called hardware for a reason.
It's hard.
I am good at making content and picking the hits. But I'll tell you, if they would only fix that, oh my God, it would be a perfect device for how I like to produce my podcast. It would be phenomenally good. So So I hope they do that one day.
And Adam, for the record, those guys are really open. You need a contact. I'll send you a contact. You can send that over to them. They listen. They really do. So
They need to send me a check from time to time.
well, that's probably true too.
But otherwise, send me a device. Add the gate. Send me a device. I'll be your proponent forever. It's very, very close to what I consider to be dynamite. It truly is. It's very close. What do you guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's
I think it's terrific too. Yeah.
If I had that device 5 years ago, I'm looking at what I have over here. And I'm like, why do I need you? You know.
It's like for my stepdaughter. You know, I'm doing engineering for her, but this would be perfect. You know, but gating is such an important part of how I make my sound, and I think everyone can benefit from it. Who doesn't have a good noise-proof studio, or just, you know, it really helps you kind of shape your sound in general in the beginning. If it's you know, you're not amplifying noise and everything,
Right.
You're trying to figure out EQ. It's just they just haven't quite made the connection that we need to have that gating function on those additional 3 channels. That's it, and then send one to my PO box.
Sounds pretty simple.
That's the problem. It's done already.
All right. So Adam, where can they go to find you? Hour and a half's not enough, but where can they listen to you 6 hours a week?
Well, you can always follow me on Twitter, Adam Curry, at Adam Curry on Twitter. Curry.com is where you eventually get to my blog. And you can just pretty much type No Agenda Show into any search engine. You'll find us. Or to go directly to our new website, our forthcoming new website, go to ronaradio.com. And that will forward you to our new website, which includes transcriptions and clickable links in the transcripts and search engines galore and resources, all the show notes. It is by itself quite a data repository that we have an archive of, because all our clips are all archived. You can search those. Everything is structured, so it's really searchable. It's very impressive what people have put together. And again, that's just our producers. Dude's name Ben out there doing that, and Dudette's name Bernadette.
Rona Radio. Hilarious.
RonaRadio.com. Yeah.
That's great.
All right. Well, Adam, thanks for coming on. Of course, I'm Todd at Blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter. Rob?
I'm on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee with 2 E's, and or robgreenlee.com. And you can certainly send me an email if you want to, robg@libsyn.com.
And for those of you listening to the show for the first time, because Adam's been here, make sure you go to newmediashow.com, subscribe to the show. You can get a PhD in podcasting if you listen to all 400 some episodes we've done. We appreciate you for being part of the family today. Everyone take care. We'll see you next Saturday at noon Eastern, I think. Yeah, noon Eastern we'll be on Saturday. Right. Adam, thanks. Right. Take care.
No, thank you both. And it was quite a pleasure to see both of you and to talk with you again after all these years. And I really appreciate everything you've done for not just podcasting, but for everybody really who's involved in it, because you have, and you've stood out. And from my end, it's very much appreciated because it made a big difference.
Well, thank you very much, Adam. And we appreciate your founding of this medium. We wouldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for your efforts. So,
well, let's have a party. $200,000.
Right.
Find it.
Let's go. And I'll bring the jack. All right. All right, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next Saturday here on the New Media Show. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
All right. It takes about 60 seconds for the stream to catch up, but
Yep.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
So much to talk about, and 90 minutes just isn't enough. But we have to cut it off at some point.
I hadn't even used. We've been using Clean Feed.
I heard you had switched to that.
Oh my God,
it's better.
Fucking love it. Yeah, I mean, there's no video component,
but we connect here. Oh, that's interesting. So it's strictly audio.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, right. But it's really top notch. I'm very pleased. I mean, I've had to do complete re-EQ on Dvorak. I mean,